Moving on now to legislative news, one of the headline bills from the last session raises the annual cap on film and TV production credit rebates and pays off a huge backlog of promised rebates that grew under the Martinez administration. It comes as Netflix opens a major production hub in Albuquerque. Alicia Keys is the state secretary for economic development and says the bill represents a new era for film and media production. She talks with NMI correspondent Megan Kamerick about the future of the media industry here in New Mexico.
Alicia Keys, thank you for joining us on New Mexico in Focus.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about the bill signed by Governor Lujan Grisham. It's designed to boost film and television production here. You wrote an opinion column where you argued these revamped incentives represent a new era for New Mexico that will bring steady jobs to the state. How so?
Well, primarily because what we do in the bill is we carve out 10-year partners from the cap. So that means people who are committed to being here either by renting or leasing a facility for 10 years are not subject to the cap.
So I was going to add, yeah, the provision where the production facilities like Netflix that lease or buy a facility, they're here for at least 10 years. They aren't subject to the cap. You told Variety you're talking to at least 2 other production companies that want to take advantage of this. So how do you see this playing out?
Well, really what we're trying to do is create an industry cluster in the state so that we have 3 to 4 companies similar to Netflix that are here. They're here for the long term. They're creating steady jobs. They're hiring from one show to the next. They just keep the same crew or they add a few people on. And that we have those relationships with those companies. So they know that the state is not going anywhere, they're not going anywhere, and that we can all work together to improve the crew base, to have an education component to it. So we're really looking for partners in the state now.
Does that mean they'd come in and buy, or, I mean, there aren't that many Albuquerque studios, right? So they'd have to come in and build something?
They either buy or they build,
okay,
or they repurpose warehouses.
Okay.
We're seeing a lot of that also.
Okay. Is there a danger that the state could get way more requests for rebates and it could handle financially if that happens?
Well, with the new legislation, we have to monitor that really closely. And so we used to have a $50 million, what we call rolling cap. So $50 million could be spent, but then we could incur more. And that didn't work because the backlog wasn't tracked properly. So now with the current legislation, SB2, we took that to a $110 million soft cap, and then there's a $100 million hard backlog cap. So we can't go over that. So if we start to get close to that, then we need to tell those production companies they can't come.
Okay. So you can still roll over some of it, but...
Exactly.
Okay. So the idea is then we won't build up another backlog.
The idea is that we're going to monitor it properly and know exactly where we are in our financial situation.
Let me go back a minute. We were talking about there were no cap. Initially, we had no caps when this was rolled out in the early aughts. Governor Susana Martinez signed a bill capping those at $50 million annually. That resulted in this backlog we're talking about. It was more than $380 million. Now the SB2, the legislation, raises the cap to $110 million, as you said, annually. It pays off $250 million of that. Why is paying off the backlog and raising the cap so important in terms of bringing production here?
It's a liability the state had, and we had to pay our debts. In addition to, Hollywood knew about this backlog, so there was a lot of, they were very nervous that they might not get paid. So it was a signal to the industry that we're going to pay our debts, but then we're also going to try to increase production here. It was a compromise between a lot of legislators and the administration and the governor.
You had a pretty significant role in the Netflix deal, getting them to come here and buy Albuquerque studios. So is that deal completed?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
It's done.
They're up and running.
Okay.
They're doing, lots of production, and they're very interested in the partnership that we have here and seeing what's next.
Okay. And Georgia has been one of our big competitors in terms of attracting productions with incentives. There is this threat right now of a boycott by some of the, especially the talent in the industry, because of a controversial, what they call a heartbeat abortion bill. And many states are circling around, trying to attract productions there. Are you actively going after Georgia productions?
Yes, we are. We actually went out to Los Angeles 2 weeks ago and spoke with a lot of studios that don't want to be in Georgia anymore, and they're looking at New Mexico.
That does raise a kind of interesting question about the industries that are lucrative for the state. How much sway should they have over policy in the state when the incentives they rely upon are paid with public money?
Well, I don't think it's formal sway. It is, I think that Hollywood has sway. I think that the actors and actresses that work in Hollywood, people listen to them and they have a voice, and it's important. So there's, I don't think Georgia's going to change their legislation because of this, but I do think that they're going to lose a very big industry.
So even if the production companies aren't the ones raising the issues, their talent is.
Exactly.
Okay. There's also a bonus of 5% in these rebates in SB2 if you film more than 60 miles outside of counties. This is the language, with an assessed taxable base of at least $6 billion, which right now means Bernalillo and Santa Fe counties.
Right.
So it seems like the major beneficiary would be Las Cruces. What about rural areas that really haven't seen any production, but they're within that 60-mile radius?
I think you say Las Cruces because they have a bigger crew base and they also have a facility which people can film in, and I think that helps. But Farmington is also looking at building a movie studio. So I think that for the smaller productions that want to save money, I think that they are going to kick out to the rural areas, and those are some of the best films and television programs because they really do use a lot of local talent and a lot of local crew. So I've already seen productions very attracted by that extra 5%. So I think it's going to really help.
That just a 5%, that makes the difference.
It really does.
Wow. Okay. I know their accountants are
It's
telling them.
When you look at really the numbers, it offsets the amount that you need to pay to house the crew outside of the zone, to put them up in hotels, meals and stuff like that. So it comes in around that 5%. So it makes it just a little bit more equal to choose between Albuquerque and Farmington.
I know Las Vegas has had a lot of success with filming. What are they doing right? And a few years ago, there was a little pushback.
Right.
People are a little film fatigued. So what's going on with it?
I think that it's just beautiful up there, and their center of town is gorgeous. Their main street is gorgeous. I think it's a location that people love, and there's also people up there who have been shooting film and television for a while, so they know what they're doing.
So that's attractive as
Yeah,
well.
the crew base.
Okay. Many states have dropped their film incentives, but others are ramping them up. How do we avoid getting into what some economists call a race to the bottom to lure these companies who basically will not go anywhere now without incentives? This is their model.
Well, so the thing about the New Mexico tax incentive for film and television is it only rebates local hires, and a lot of the other states are bringing in outside crew and still rebating them. So we do have a program if we don't have enough crew, or if you need to bring a few people in, you get a decreased amount of tax incentive. But I think that what makes New Mexico's tax incentive so great is it's very thoughtful, and it really promotes local crew, local vendors. If they use a lumber company down on 4th Street, then that's rebatable. If they bring the lumber in from outside, that's not rebatable. So I think that we've crafted something which is sustainable, and a lot of the other states that tried to get in on this, because we've been doing it for 16 years now, they went out too fast and too hard and too aggressive, and I just don't think that theirs were sustainable.
Mm-hmm. What will the changes in the film incentive mean for building a workforce in New Mexico?
Well, so we need to build a workforce, and we have 21 institutions around the state that have some type of film or television program. What we need to do is we need to work with IATSE.
This is the main crew for the
Yeah,
union.
it's
Or, I'm
the
sorry,
main
for the
480. Yes, it's the main union for the film and television industry.
this is for the crew.
Right,
base.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And we need to work with Transpo, their local union members here.
For transportation, I'm guessing.
Exactly.
What you
Yeah,
said.
sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll throw some more acronyms at you too, government acronyms. And we need to figure out how we can get these students trained, or people who have been doing other jobs and want to redirect, trained, and then the work hours, and then onto a set. So that's something that we're currently working on right now. I'm meeting with the cabinet secretaries for education, IATSE with their new leadership, Liz Pecos and Doug Acton, are amazing. They're incredibly collaborative. They're already starting training programs. And then the film office also has training programs. They just did one for POCs, so people who are in charge of travel, and also for PAs and
That's-
set medics.
Okay.
PAs are production assistants, and that's really just the initial job to get in. And they've got a lot of training that's coming up in the next few months. So if anybody does want to look at that, then definitely go on to nmfilm.com because we have those classes. But we're going to start working with our partners also to bring in higher level training. So people who might be electricians, but they don't necessarily know how to rig a condor light. So we're gonna work with Netflix and some other companies who want to provide that training for New Mexico.
So you need people. We have a fairly large crew base, over 3,000, but now you're seeing, because of Netflix, the rebates, we're going to have more production. We're going to need to build that up.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And really, we have 10,000
Okay.
IATSE members within the state. I think it's actually over 10,000 now. And I think a lot of people are going to be moving back from Georgia who left. And then we have so many students that are interested in going into this field because it's really one of the fields that's thriving in the state.
We saw an announcement, speaking of universities, from University of New Mexico about changes it's making to its film production program. CNM has some plans at the rail yards. Not sure how those materialized yet. How are the education programs changing to meet what the demand will be?
Well, I think that they see that in order to provide stable, well-paying jobs, those are crew jobs. And those are jobs where you get a paycheck. When you are a writer or a director, sometimes that's not a steady paycheck. And so I think that they realize that in order for the people that live in New Mexico, the best thing that they can do to get into the industry is really go in what's called below the line, which is crew, because a lot of these students, they can't afford to not get paid for a year and write a script, or hope to direct a movie, or raise money from their friends and family. So I think these programs are realizing that, and they're becoming more crew focused.
And I know it varies, but what kind of salaries are we talking about?
I mean, we're talking, it does vary, but we're talking in the $30 an hour range, and it goes even upwards of that, because sometimes it's 12 to 14 to even 16 hours, and you go into double time very easily. So a lot of my friends in the industry make over $100,000.
So you can do that and work on the Dream Project.
Well, you can write at night, exactly. But I'm not going to tell any student in New Mexico, unless they have a trust fund, to sit down and just write for a year, because it's not a sustainable thing. It's very, very difficult. Your probability of getting something written that gets financed, that gets distributed, that you make money off of is very, very low. So I would say if you're interested, get in on the ground floor and start making films. And then you start making the relationships too that you'll need for the future.